Well, hey, it's another great day here at Eat and Drink Real Estate. My name's Walt Carney with Citywide Title. I'm so excited to present another episode of Eat and Drink Real Estate. Many of our viewers, I'm sure, are familiar with my guest today. She's a rock star here in the burbs and in many of the surrounding suburbs. Her and her team have sold over 5,000 homes, and with their more than 50 years of experience in real estate. And it is my great honor to introduce Cindy Banks with RE/MAX Cornerstone in West Chicago. Now, I've known Cindy for some time.
Yep.
We go to the same club. We both play tennis. Now, I haven't played on the same court with her yet, but maybe one day.
Bring it on.
So, in the near future. So, here we are. Cindy, nice to see you.
Nice to be seen.
How are you?
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so combined real estate experience is over 50 years for sure, so that's true. But I started this career 37 years ago, and have never missed a beat. I love it. I love real estate. My grandfather owned a real estate company, so I always heard it around the table, and the holidays and everything else. He did larger pieces, real estate, in terms of hotels and things like this, but I've learned a lot
Commercial.
in the past. Yes. So we do a little commercial, but mostly residential.
Because I've seen a lot of the commercial stuff too.
Yes.
You know, and we see your name all over town.
We are trying.
So, so yeah. And I want to do, there's a little shameless plug I'm going to say first.
Please.
So recently we just saw each other again and got reacquainted at our launch party for our new app at the Carlisle in Lombard. What did you think?
I thought it was great. Yeah, it's going to be a game changer for a lot of people to be able to use that app that will represent their skills, and they can share that with their clientele. So I think it's a
and in
good
addition,
app.
we met again, and you looked at our CPAS app, which is not really the app that we launched, but
Yeah.
the CPAS app, you've had a chance to check
Right.
that one out. How did you think of that?
Yeah, Citywide Pass is great. Good tools to use in the business for sure.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, there's also one thing else that we're having a new our next launch party. If you missed that one, it's going to be Tuesday, April 9th at the Copernicus Center on West Lawrence in Chicago. So with that said, we've already gone over how long you've been in real estate. So how did you start your real estate career?
So I got my degree in communications and a minor.
And now we're in the studio.
And a minor in radio and television production, which is kind of fun to be full circle here. Anyway, and worked in the city for a little while, but realized I kind of wanted to be my own boss right away. I have a strong personality, and I wanted to work for myself. And at that time, this was 37 years ago. So being a female was a little bit difficult in the business world. Now it's very well appreciated and expected in the business world. So just kind of went off on my own and wanted to do that straight away. So started with one company, was there 6 months, and then went straight to RE/MAX as a top producer right away. RE/MAX was a good choice for me.
Right, and that's when we had met because I actually had somebody else that played tennis with us. It was an attorney that was the husband of, I forget her name, Tornga, Marge Tornga.
And Dave. Yeah.
And Dave Tornga.
Yes.
He played tennis, and that's how we met.
Right.
Because I went into her office and asked him
Right.
why isn't he doing any of the real estate. He wasn't moving much of the real estate.
Yeah,
but
and
then was fortunate enough to meet you.
Yay.
Oh, wait a second. This is the one with the big sign behind the hot dog joint on North Avenue that I always saw. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to meet somebody that's, pretty big in the real estate business.
Yeah, thank you so much. Dave primarily does Michigan.
Oh,
so
okay.
That's why you didn't see him right here. So he's an attorney and married to Marge, and Marge now moved to Michigan with him. So this is all good.
So why do you love the real estate business?
Oh my gosh, meet people all day long, every day. New people, hear their story, mostly to be a good and a partner, if you will, in their conversation about where they want to go and why. Lots of different reasons people have to sell real estate. So, it's a life journey. And in 37 years, I've helped over 5,000 families, but more importantly, created relationships that are long-term, I know their children. I now know their grandchildren.
And your family is all in the business now as well. I understand your daughter, who I've not met, which
You
maybe
will.
we'll be turning that business over to her one day.
Right, right.
And maybe she could be in the Circle of Legends. Tell us about the Circle of Legends. I noticed a pin.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So, Circle of Legends is one of the very top awards that Remax actually gives out, relevant to time in the business and sales production. So I'm honored to have it. Not many of us do, so I do wear the pin proudly for time served.
Right. Well, and Remax is a great name. I know you've always stuck by them and been very loyal with Remax. And
Right, right.
That's a great company.
So Remax is 110 countries. So
Right, yeah.
110 countries. I literally had a referral that I sent out to Spain yesterday. So that's
Really?
that's very cool.
That's
and when
cool.
I travel, which we travel a lot, Tony and myself, we look for the Remax offices in all the different countries, take pictures by them, meet the owners because we're a broker owner also.
Yeah.
So we have invitations, standing invitations everywhere, and we take them.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I have noticed I'm following on Facebook with your posts, and you do a lot of media, and you do a lot of posts and video posts, and and the next question was what does it take to be consistent for 30 plus years in this business? And it's probably one of the things is staying with the times and stuff and doing video instead of just
right.
Just print ad.
Well, I think the key thing to longevity in this business is that you have to continue your relationships with your clients, and how do they communicate? Many of the clients that are younger, TikTok, Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
My clients that are a little bit older, definitely Facebook, the Citibank's team, websites, findallchicagohomes.com. We've kind of branched out in terms of trying to not only help the clients that we've already put within our business structure, but also how do we gain the trust of their referrals? How do we gain new clients? And you have to be changing with the times. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but the top realtors are similar in that regard, right?
Right,
And this
absolutely.
is what we try to teach as well.
So for fun, way back when, because some of your listeners and or followers here may not have been in the industry or seen the industry from way back when. Like if you're 25 years old, you really don't know the whole story. If you're 30 years old, you don't know the whole
Right.
story. But 37 years ago, we had a huge real estate book, a
Oh,
book that was
yeah?
printed. And we would have to
Okay.
Xerox the book. So we'd open the book, we'd find a property for $200,000, we'd Xerox it, this big monster book on the copier. Then we'd do a thing called snail mail. We would take the photocopies, put it in an envelope, mail it to the buyer or the seller
Right.
for information.
Times have changed.
Oh my gosh, that process took, I don't know, how long does U.S. mail take?
Right, yeah,
Could
yeah.
be forever. Back then, 37 years ago, it was
Right.
a little faster.
Right.
37 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, now it's kind of like, you're on your phone and you get a ding and the information is instant, but more importantly, the consumers aren't necessarily patient.
Yes.
They want information real time, and so that's changed the pace of real estate. Where we used to be able to create longer term relationships with clients because it took longer, now we're very grateful for the relationships that we can keep and take because it's instant. So
Right.
it's hard to create that rapport in an instant. So
Right.
how do you actually do that?
Right.
Right,
You have to
so-
be in front of them constantly.
Lots of different ways and be
Yes.
very responsive.
Yes. And bringing up the past and how, brings up the next question with regards to fair market value. Everybody is concerned about the market now with pricing going, seems like it's out of touch. Homes are priced too high, or when are they going to come down? When are we going to be able to afford it? So what determines the fair market value?
Well, it's what a seller's willing to sell for, of course, and what a buyer's willing and able to pay for.
Able.
Right?
Right.
That's a key. Able's a key. So what we see is in the last 37 years I've been doing it, of course there's an ebb and flow, right? There's an average, there's a median. But a good marketing agent, our job is to really push the market. What can we get? An appraiser's position is to establish value based on history. A good marketer is like, where is the tolerance? And so when you're really in touch with the markets, as I keep up with many markets surrounding our location, you want to be able to see how you can pace that. So is that increments of 5,000? Is it increments of 10,000? Will the tolerance be very high? This last weekend, we put in 3 properties, which we can talk about strategically. And, you know, I negotiated 31 offers on 3 properties total, and my top seller was 45,000 over list. But that can't happen without great energy, but also great knowledge. So an experienced agent in particular is going to be able to actually watch the pace of the market and do things that will create that energy for the seller. And the sellers are very happy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have a knowledgeable real estate agent, both on the buy side and the sell side, right? Both and the buy side.
Absolutely. Representation
So
on the buy side.
we won't get into that new
Key.
the new little thing that happened here, but it's important to have very good real estate agents representing both buyers and sellers.
Absolutely.
Right. So, and counseling them properly, setting up for a smooth transaction quickly for the highest price.
What I think is important to talk about right this second is the amount of actual effort and work that goes in to each transaction on each side. So a lot of people think, oh, it's fun, you just show a house and write an offer and then you wait for closing. The behind the scenes, if you will,
We know that that's not the case.
of everything that goes on to make it smooth for the consumer and for the client, if you will, there's so many moving parts. And when you're not in communication every day with the parties, if you will, the buyer or the seller, there's so many more things that are going behind the scene to make that one call that you might have within a day or
Right.
two, or
Mhm.
2 calls within the week, very effective with answers. So there's a lot of background stuff that goes into making sure that that transaction is very smooth, right? So when I like to equate it to, let's say for fun, a doctor, and you're going for consultation, but you're going to go in for surgery. The surgeon
Right.
does not tell you all the steps of the surgery before you go in, or you'd probably not go in, right? There's
Right.
too many moving parts.
Right.
You're like, oh, just take care of it, knock me out, I'm good. That's kind of the same thing with real estate. I like to think I'm a doctor of real estate. There's so many things that go on behind the scenes that make it easy and smooth and get to the closing table, you know, effortlessly for our clients.
And even with everything going perfectly correct behind the scenes and in front, you still can run into some snags along
Absolutely.
the way.
Yes.
And you really need to have professionals handling it. It's very difficult if we have listeners or viewers out there that believe that I can handle it myself. I don't need a real estate agent. We urge them, don't try.
Right,
Right.
exactly. Well, and I tease because I feel like I'm not just a doctor, I'm like the brain surgeon, right? And the key thing there is, you know, you want to be with the best people that have the most experience in any profession, but more importantly, all the experiences I've had to this point, I've probably crossed, you know, an issue before and solved it. So now I have history.
Right.
And our
yes.
team has a way to look at history and say, oh, this happened, and now this is a solution, and so therefore it becomes seamless because of the experience. Yeah,
Right. So not just the pictures on the internet that you see.
right.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
No. It
There's a
can
lot
give
of
you an
things.
idea, but there's also many properties that aren't on the internet as well. Correct?
Exactly. Right.
So what are the factors that determine pricing?
So, location you've heard before, of
Right.
course. So location is part of it, but different sectors of the market want different things, right? If you're retiring, do you truly care always about the school district, the accessibility to parks, etc., the park district? Maybe, maybe not. Do you want to be in a marketplace if you're younger with other families, let's say, or a younger crowd, or access to the restaurants, walk to town? You know,
Right.
each market sector wants different things. So how do you prepare your property for sale within these different markets? That would be a different conversation per property, per location, per neighborhood, per town,
Right.
accessibility to a metro, a train,
Right.
a bus, things like this. So there's
And
lots of different ways to look.
And that brings us to the next question, which I've never sold a house before, but you could come into my house and my wife for sure would be upset if I brought anybody into our house and saw the blankets on the couches because I have dogs and, we got to get this. like, no, why can't we just sell it? No, you can't do that, though. So there's important things like staging, presenting the property. Give us a little idea on what it's involved with the staging process.
So we have marketing material that we hand the sellers as
Okay.
we're going through the process. We have professional stagers, of course. Many times we can use the property items that are there to present a better picture. The main thing is, if the properties are vacant, we do virtual staging. We can also bring in a stage team and get real-time furniture into that property if we believe it's necessary. So all properties need things, because
yeah,
as
yeah.
you live in a property, that's different than if
Can't
you're
be empty.
marketing.
It's not a good idea
Property.
because people have to be able to visualize what it would be like
Absolutely.
to live there.
Absolutely. But when you're walking into a property as a buyer, what are you looking for? So I'm going to give you some hints. You're looking for light. You're looking for natural light. You're looking for space. You're looking out the windows. You're looking at curb appeal. So a buyer is going to determine if they're going to come to your property based on your exterior. So should you invest in a couple little things? Absolutely. What are little? Trim your bushes. Put
This
down-
is differentiating your property
Absolutely.
to attract more buyers,
Absolutely,
right? This
because
is
they
what
look
we're-
outside first, or
Right.
they look at the exterior picture first. The pictures do make a big difference. You have to be good looking in
Right.
terms of a property to get the interest. And not iPhone photos. You need a professional photographer.
Right.
It's all we have is a professional photographer that does this all day long. iPhone photos do not work. But
So
yeah,
the for sale by owner people out there that think they can take pictures with their iPhone and put it somewhere.
absolutely. But in fairness, there are a number of realtors doing the same thing. Ask your realtor that you're interviewing, what does your marketing material look like? Who will photograph my home? Etc. Make
Right.
them tell you what is expected. Here's the other side of it, though. So you're a buyer, you're walking up to the property. If you have garbage or anything out there, they're noticing all the little things. Because a buyer, think of it this way: a buyer is really trying to figure out why they don't want to buy a house. Because nobody likes to be
Right.
sold. So they're like,
Right.
yeah, why don't I want this one? So automatically they're walking up to the property trying to figure out, don't like that, don't like that, don't like that. Sometimes that is a hard thing to get past for that buyer's agent to get through, right? So if you make it perfect as a seller the best you can, so you're painting your front door, you're looking for trim that might not be in perfect condition, any broken window screens, you're looking
You're trying
for
to
the
eliminate
negatives.
eliminate the objections that could possibly happen
Absolutely.
if a potential buyer walks up.
Absolutely. Then you walk in your front door. Now, some properties are not large enough, so they would not have a front closet. So they'd have a coat tree.
Oh yeah.
You hang
yeah.
your coat tree up. You hang your coat
yeah.
on your coat tree. Take it out.
Right.
What does it scream? I don't have a closet. So
Right.
it's the experience level of this that we strive on to say every little corner of your house is mattering.
Right.
Let us tell you what to do to maximize that and maximize the profit.
What is the first thing a buyer should do when they're buying a house?
Get pre-approved by a local lender.
That's what brings us to the next one, right? So
Right.
that's very important.
Right.
So why should a buyer talk with a mortgage professional as opposed to a bank, or vice versa? I'm not sure which.
So a
if
mortgage-
I'm a buyer. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you're new.
Right.
A mortgage broker in particular is able to shop many different institutions. A bank is just that. It's one institution promoting their product line within usually a brick and mortar structure. So if you have a great relationship with your bank for other reasons, a business bank, whatever else you do there, and they have all your information, that might be simpler. But I would tell you it probably would cost you slightly more because, again, you're
At the local bank?
You're supporting all the structures they have in place.
Oh yeah.
Where a broker has office space, but it's not typically a freestanding structure, let's say. So, but again, a bank has great benefits, and sometimes they can tie those in with other products that you have with the bank. So it's good to talk to both, I would suggest.
Right, and a good real estate professional will have referrals for them, correct?
We have references for everything.
Right. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, but you have to prove yourself to be a reference for my team, to be honest, because
Right.
we'll give you grace on one challenge, but if it's a consistent pattern, then you're not on my list.
Well, you can
because
be sure
we can't
when you
afford to do that.
refer somebody, you've done your research,
We've
you've worked
vetted-
with these people, they're
yes.
friends of yours, which is very important. We're the same way.
Right, right.
We want to make sure that anybody that we refer is vetted, as you say,
Right.
but they have experience, and they answer the phone when you call them.
Oh my gosh, that leads me to
Pretty
a great
important
point,
thing.
right?
Yes.
I have a little story for fun. This buyer that I took out a couple days ago, a high-end buyer, said, I called 3 different agents on 3 different properties in 3 different towns, all the ones that we service, and they got back to me like 4 or 5 hours later, or not until the next day. That's not going to be acceptable.
No, not
So
usually.
I have a phone tree in my system. Like now I'm not able to answer the phone, but my phone tree is in place.
Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
Just so everybody knows, when you meet with her, she's answering the phone when somebody
It's
calls.
pretty much every
It's
day,
the
all day long.
client.
But the phone tree is
a
important
client.
because, again, the consumer wants to hear from someone for real. And that's not going across the pond.
Right,
This
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
speaking right here, real-time information, because the buyer's very excited about getting the information. So if I represent a seller, I want that seller's information to go to that buyer like that. And that's important nowadays.
Right. So, and we're gonna change it up a little bit here again. Get back to homes. Can you explain the process of conducting a home inspection and addressing any of those issues?
So now you're a buyer. We've seen numerous properties with my team. You choose a particular property that you want to buy. You write the offer, one of maybe many offers that you're competing for. So we have ways to win these offers. And then after we win, we highly recommend that you put a home inspection on your property purchase. Regardless, if you're buying it as is, doesn't matter. You still want to know what you're getting into, kind of like an insurance policy. You want to know what might be coming
If
down
you're
the
gonna
pipe.
need a new septic tank.
We need to know, right? It might be as is, but we
An
need to know.
expensive
Yeah,
little thing. It may be okay, but it's gonna affect the price.
it's a capital outlay of, could be 15, 20,000.
Right.
It's important, especially to a new buyer, needs to know. So you have an inspection regardless. We ask our buyers, and on our seller side, we ask the other side to perform these things relatively quickly. We have a business week, but that's too long in this market. This market's too quick. So we're asking for participation fairly quickly to get an inspector into the property, and you can have lots of different inspections. So people ask all the time, well, do I just need a home inspection? Well, maybe you want a sewer inspection, that looks and sees if any of the roots of the older trees are in your sewer system. So that's a large expense in the long run. So people laugh about termite, but VA requires it, and more importantly, do termites exist in Illinois? Yeah, they're still here. Not as prevalent as in your warm
Right.
states, but they're still here. So you could do sewers.
We got ants.
Yeah, septics. You could do a home inspection, of course, a radon inspection. There's lots of different inspections that can be done. It just depends on the tolerance of the buyer to pay for the inspections, because it does lay on the buyer's side.
Yeah.
So-
I had that with my house. Water. Had to check the water. Well, I was in a well and septic, but you have to get the water checked, and I didn't even think about that.
Right.
And that's a different thing than just a home inspection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So lots of different ways that we can help on that.
What are some of the red flags that a buyer should look out
Well,
for
let's
when they're
see-
viewing a house?
Right. Let's say when you're walking through the property, is the realtor hopefully looking for things that you might be missing? Meaning a buyer looks through and is like, wow, the space is so beautiful. The kitchen's gorgeous. I love the cabinets. I love the faucets. I'm looking for water intrusion. I'm looking for roof damage. I'm looking for windows
Probably should look in the attic too,
and
right?
screens. Well, we can't always get in that.
Yeah.
They have to hoist me up. I'm little. But anyway, but we're looking for things that may be what we call latent. An inspector is also going to do that, but that's after you've already committed, and emotionally you're already in. So I'd like to help the buyer before, and my team's trained to help the buyer before to look for these latent defects.
Basic things,
Mhm.
walking through the house.
Yeah.
So, how are you helping your clients navigate the current market?
This is a tricky market.
Right, I know.
This is a tricky market.
Take it from us.
But
it's still there.
yeah.
People
It'll
are still
continue.
buying homes. And people
have
still
to move.
sell homes.
Right, we're good. We're good. So the beauty of having this history, if you will, in terms of the market being out there forever, is that I've seen this
Yeah, yeah.
ebb and flow 3 times. So again, we've navigated through this before and come out ahead, if you will, because again, you revamp your marketing, you revamp your expectations, you have further conversations with the buyers and the sellers about where the market's going and what's to be expected. But our best clients are the ones that listen.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Right.
So I have great clients. They want to learn and they want to know how to be successful. If they write on a particular property with the team and they don't win it, that's okay, but how are we going to win the next one? So then they listen a little bit differently because perhaps what we had mentioned to recommend, they weren't quite sure about yet. They talked to their parents or grandparents who had a completely different experience buying real estate. You know, you still hear the stories.
Right.
You know, my grandmother's been in her house for 65 years and spent $18,000. Bless her. She's
Right,
sitting
yeah.
on a gold mine. My
Right.
point is, you know, it depends on who they're talking to get the advice. Totally fine. But again, maybe the second contract's the one we actually win because, again, they're open to more suggestions.
So it's important to continue to keep engaged with your clients
Engage,
all of the
engage,
time.
engage.
Communication is critical at all times.
And no question is too silly.
Right.
I mean, truly, no question is too silly.
So what makes you any different than any other agent out there?
So for the buy side, it's all communication, it's all information, it's all education. It's having the right team in place to be able to, you know, recommend vetted inspectors, attorneys, title companies, lenders, that whole piece that we come to the table with. Contractors, you know, from civil engineers to building engineers, you know, you name it, we have it in our repertoire. We have architects, just because, again, the business model that we've been creating for so long. The other side of that is kind of hand-holding through that process, because as a brand new buyer, you really have no clue. And so they
Yeah.
expect to have good representation, but also kind of like a partner. So we partner with the buy side all the time to help them through that process. My team's great. We've got a small micro team, which is great.
It's not really that small.
Well, Danny's on my team. He's amazing. Goes everywhere and anywhere, and his reviews online are just ridiculously stellar. We saw another one today. Jaylene on my team is fabulous. Personal assistant as well, so she wears two hats as a licensed assistant. Katie, which we talked briefly, is in the city market, so she's on my team. She's also Tony and my daughter, but you know, got her master's at 22, so she's very qualified to analyze. She's very analytical, does spreadsheets and boils it down for people, especially on the new construction and the condo side of the city. Then Tony's super analytical. He's, of course, on the team, manages the team. And then myself. So we have a small team, but then the back office
Right.
is important, right? So
Right.
our partners, of course, and then Melissa on my team does all the marketing and social campaigns that I come up with. She's like,
Right.
oh, okay. And then she
Right.
just puts her head down.
But she's doing the social media.
She's doing a lot of the work
So
with,
that's
with
the
me.
good advice for other realtors
Yes.
or realtors or real estate professionals to follow that.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly. And have a team. And it's not like an individual agent can't do all this stuff. You know, there's plenty of individual agents that aren't part of teams. And that's amazing. I mean, truly, that's amazing. Tony and I started together, so we were a team right away, Tony Banksfoot.
yeah.
As
I
an
mean,
individual agent, there's
Right.
just a lot of work.
well, I run into a lot of individual agents, and that's the good advice. That's good advice, and I've heard it from many, many other agents that you really need to start. You want to have a mentor to kind of walk you through it,
Right.
especially if you're trying to look to be long term. I mean, you know, we see a
Right.
lot of real estate agents come in and they're gone with a very short amount of time.
It's a tough
Thinking
business.
it's
Yeah.
easy to do.
Yeah.
This is very difficult. It's you know, but it's very satisfying, and
Right.
it's you know, so it's nice to help out the community. I mean,
And I've been a mentor of many agents in the past and still talk to people all
and you
across,
enjoy it.
yeah, all across
You
the
know,
country.
don't be scared to ask
No.
for somebody to help, because
Right.
I think most people just want to help each other. I
Right.
mean, because it's a good business to be in. So
So I'm part of an elite master group that meets by Zoom, because that's mostly we're going to be in Vegas in a couple weeks. But primarily we meet by Zoom, and there's probably 200 of us that, you know, talk to each other throughout the country. So, you know, our market here in Illinois is drastically different than Boston, Las Vegas, Hawaii, Florida. Yeah, every market's different, but we kind of have similar issues in different ways. Some are escrow states, some are attorney states. You know, everybody has a different little insight to the market. So what I gained from that is being able to share experiences and what's working here, but I listen well in terms of trying to figure out what can help our clients here that they might be
Right.
experiencing elsewhere that's coming to us. Midwest is interesting because, we don't have super highs and super lows, right?
Right.
So we've been very methodically
It's a lot of people.
methodically moving up in terms of pricing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But we're behind in so many ways relevant to value. Florida, 2,000 square feet, $6 million. What? Right. So, we will never get there because there's crazy and all good. But so what makes
They have
our
sun.
Yeah, they have sun. Exactly. What it makes our market different and methodical, kind of like a turtle, is something that we can embrace and actually capitalize on. Because again, the highs and lows bring different trauma. So this pace is very comfortable in many ways, even though some people think, oh my gosh, this local market, recent market is so high. Yeah, but again, if you look at the graph side, it's very methodical in the pace. And it makes it comfortable.
It's always a good time to buy and sell.
Always a good time.
So what sets the Sydney Banks team apart as a top listing agent?
Thank you for asking. So our marketing materials are really important, I think. I do believe that people should get marketing material when they view the home so that they can actually look at it.
I've seen some of this. It's really nice.
So, large format, hard copy, pretty pictures, after it's staged, of course, by us. And then, if you will, the dates and the improvements of the property. We interview our sellers to see when things were done. So the year the roof was done, the mechanicals, everything. So a buyer walks in, they see the property, they view the material, they take it home on their table in their kitchen and like, wow, oh, I didn't know it had a new roof. Oh, I didn't know it had, a new humidifier, new air conditioning. It's expenses they don't have to come up with straight away. Because
It's a takeaway.
it's a takeaway. So I believe marketing materials become important. On the outside of our properties, we have the take one boxes with information. So a lot of people are saying, oh, I see everything on the internet. Yeah, but they're going to drive by that house. If they're serious about your property, they're going to drive by your house.
And the MLS sheet just isn't enough.
It's not enough.
It's gobbledygook for most people. Having something like that is much better, especially if the buyer's at home and he's got three MLS sheets that he got
And
off
ours is
of it,
prettier.
and yours is this.
Yeah.
Well, your attention's going to be going to that property
We would-
over and over again.
Exactly, we would expect that. And then on the outside of our sellers' properties have something like this. So again, if they're going to drive the area, see if they even want to get in, the outside has to look great, pretty door, et cetera, like we talked about. And then the marketing material on the outside. So this has a 1-800 number, QR codes, call to action. And then on the back, it cross-markets, other properties we have in different communities. So they might be looking for a property in one community, but their friends or their parents or someone else might be looking for it in another area, and I'll get the call. Say, oh, Cindy, we drove by ABC, but now we are thinking, we have interest in this property on Main Street. Great. Now we're able to get leads to different products all over. It's very, very successful that way. And then, the postcard campaigns that are out there. It's helpful to be, again, noticed. It takes
In front of
capital.
people,
It takes
right.
capital. You have to invest in your business. This is a full-time career business for us. So we did have different campaigns that way as well. And then, in particular, when we meet a buyer, we have a full buyer's guide on what to expect in the business. So not only does it introduce our
I didn't
team,
get that one.
oh, we'll give
What
this
the-
to you, and then what to expect step by
Oh,
step
okay.
on the process from start to finish on the buy for the seller, the same type, but for the seller side of the business.
Okay, yeah.
So again, it's no surprises. You're going to get a consistent process every time with the Cindy Banks team. Every single thing is crisscrossed. The dots on the I, the cross on the T, because we
Yeah.
want to make it seamless every single time. Another thing I think that's really important for marketing the properties is having a proper key box. So you can have a garage code, but once it's out, that garage code's known. You can have a key code on a door. Once that code's out, everybody could get that code. It's not safe. These are well over $100. They're solid. They're heavy. They click onto a door, a fence post, or something, or you cannot get them off. You literally cannot get them off. They're physically heavy. They're solid. When a realtor that has access and or is given access has an individual code specific for that time period, and then they have access, front opens, the key comes out, they use it, they put it back, they close it. But I know who's in that box.
Mm-hmm.
I can go online and find out exactly who's been in. So if I have any issues ever, I know exactly the activity that went on off this box
Who stole the picture off the wall?
24/7. So we can actually help, if we needed to, figure out who was
Safety.
who was in the property. Safety first. My kids are like,
Right.
"Oh, Mom, that's all you say, safety first." It's true. Safety first.
It's been great having you.
So fun
Thanks
to
for coming
be
in.
here. You guys are awesome. Love Citywide. Love the
Good.
process. You know, good attorneys are all part of the process as well.
Thank you.